Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Industry Perspectives. I'm your host, Ainsley Bowden, and today I'm talking with Colt Eastwood, who runs a YouTube channel focusing on games and technology that drive the gaming industry. Now, Colt and I met a few years ago at E3, and we had a great time. We had a lot of laughs. And so today we're going to reflect on some of those things, talk about E3 and gaming shows in general, obviously talk about his gaming history and what got him into content creation, and of course some of the technology itself in the gaming industry. Let's jump in. All right, welcome back to Industry Perspectives. Joining me this week is someone I got to know well a couple years ago. You obviously know him well if you pay attention to our channel or any of the coverage of the industry, and that is Mr. Colt Eastwood. What is happening, man?
Hey, a lot is happening, but thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
This is, it's not really for me. We're talking as friends. So I guess it's your show and I get to talk to you again across the internet.
Yeah, it's, we'll obviously get into it, but we were just chatting before the show for those watching about how Colt, that was your first E3 at 2019, right?
Yeah.
Right. And, prior to that, you and I didn't know each other. I knew your content, but we had never talked.
Right.
It's just a strange turn of events, how the world works in the gaming community, and got to know you. And it's been cool, man. So anyway, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we were in line waiting to go into E3 for the very beginning of the whole entire event for 2019. And I think we bumped into each other, in the line, and that 3 days of hanging out as friends. Right from there.
It's literally just started chatting in line, and then that was it. So, which, FanFest had something to do with that too, which we'll touch on. So, but anyway, let's back it up, man, because you've congratulations, by the way, on the success. Your channel's seen tremendous growth, and it's been cool to see kind of just that escalation, right, man? So it's been a great probably 12, 18 months, 2 years, whatever it's been, where it's really kind of taken off for you. So congrats on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So, but there might be a lot of people that kind of follow your content or newer to your channel that maybe haven't gone back, right? Or really understood kind of either how you got into it or why gaming is so important to you personally. So where I really wanted to start is just by talking to you about like your history with gaming itself before content creation, what got you into it, how it became like a major thing in your life.
Yeah, I'm a really strange gamer story, really. I started gaming on the Intellivision in the early 80s.
Awesome.
I don't know. My parents decided the Mattel Intellivision was the console they would bring home, and back then those were expensive pieces of entertainment. I didn't know that back then, but I really, really liked gaming, and then that thing, who knows what happened to it. And it wasn't until the Nintendo Entertainment System came out. I didn't get one until in the late 80s. My parents bought one for us. And I remember that weekend we got it, and my mom and dad said, "Hey, you need to turn that off. You have school tomorrow." And I immediately thought, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school anymore. So, what followed, this is such a weird, like, checkered past as a gamer. What followed was cool. For a couple of years, I became a Nintendo freak. Like, it's all I thought about and played was just Nintendo. So I was really crazy. And when I got started into high school, my younger brother made fun of me, and he said, "All my friends and I call you Nintendo Freako." And that really embarrassed me. So if you can imagine in the early 90s, remember back then it wasn't cool to be a nerd.
Now
it's totally cool to like comic book movies and video games and stuff like that.
Very different today than when we were kids, no doubt.
So you slammed into a locker for playing video games. So my younger brother, who was cooler than me, he was making fun of me, and I was playing the Super Nintendo back then, like F-Zero and Street Fighter 2, a little bit of Star Fox, and feeling like it ages me, but being like a teenager, being like a 16-year-old. Like sitting and playing those after school was super nerdy. So my brother made fun of me, and I just like dropped that light gray purple controller down. And I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. And it's funny, what followed was I went through high school and I just went out with friends and, dated girls and stuff. because I was starting to get old enough to do stuff and drive around and cause some mayhem, whatever. So I gave up gaming for probably 10 years.
Okay.
For the most part. Went through stuff and went through college, and I wanted to get back into gaming. I played a few games here and there, like Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, probably the best game ever made on PC. So I played a little bit on PlayStation, but really for 10 years, I just didn't really play many video games, and I didn't really own a system to play on. So I missed the golden age of the RTSs and GoldenEye. I played those occasionally at a friend's house. So there's this period where it was really important to a lot of gamers who were like our age or a little bit younger that I wasn't involved in gaming. So basically when the Xbox 360 came out, there were younger kids who were so enamored by the Xbox. That's all anybody talked about.
You're looking at one of them. Yeah.
Right. So so around 2007, I decided, we've got a couple kids. We bought a house, built a house. I've gone through college. Like, I owe myself to go back to the thing I've always liked. And so I went and bought an Xbox 360 brand new and bought GTA 4. And oh my gosh, I was hooked. So I've basically been hooked ever since. And that's pretty much what most people have done. Like they've gotten to a game that really hooked them in at certain periods of time. But that was like the point of no return. And if you fast forward a couple more years when social media started, I did a lot of talking with people about gaming. I was reading so much stuff that I felt like I knew stuff, and I encountered so many people that they only have a cursory knowledge of what's going on with gaming. So they get into arguments, but you could tell they don't know what they're talking about. And I found myself trying to correct people. And then I brought in like my graphic design background where I could build graphics that say, hey, this is what's going on, and show them it just basically built in this thing where I needed to give my voice to gaming in the community. And I built this YouTube channel basically around 2015 or so. Okay. And it just wasn't going anywhere, but I was trying to make production videos, and it's pretty rough to, a lot of people know you try to get your stuff, make it so people can watch and enjoy and learn and get feedback, and nothing is taking hold. And a lot of videos with just like 40 views. Those it's crazy. Really crazy.
I think that's a story that kind of rings true across everyone I spoke to, whether you're running a site, a channel, no matter what it is, right? When you're just trying to kind of get that started, it's a grind, man. It's challenging. You don't get what you expect. And, even Ace had some similar stories from Game On, and Joe, same thing. So it's just, I think we've all experienced that. I mean, hell, still do to some degree, speaking on my account. But that's cool. So 2015, you kind of take over to YouTube, kind of putting into work to try and get the channel started, get your voice out there. What would you say then is, what do you think helped you turn the corner there to start getting, the growth?
Well, what I've done for the whole time really was when the Xbox One was announced in 2013, I didn't consider myself an Xbox fan. But when I had the 360, I just felt like I had a video game console.
Sure.
And I would go over to a friend's house and they'd have a PS3, and I'm like, oh, these games look identical. And I just knew that there was a couple exclusives on each console, but I didn't make a big deal about it. But when the Xbox One came out, there was this massive divide, because when they showed it with the TV and the Kinect 2.0, I told my friends, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a PlayStation because I just don't feel like this is a gaming console. Okay. So I waited for a little bit, and I didn't have the $500 to shell out for a console or $400 for a PS4. So what happened was, I waited until Titanfall came out. Okay. And I decided to buy an Xbox because a couple of my friends that I play with every night said, hey, we're moving onto the Xbox One. We'd played Call of Duty Black Ops there and Mass Effect Online and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'll get an Xbox. But what I'm trying to get at was, there was so much animosity against the Xbox brand. And I played on the console, I really enjoyed it. I thought, man, this console is actually way better than I gave it credit for, or that the entire community is giving it credit for. And there's some really cool stuff here. And I hated the Kinect, but man, I loved talking to it and saying volume up,
Right.
take a screenshot,
Right.
launch this game. Volume up and down was like when you have a headset on and you're on the controller and you need the volume down, you could just say it, and it was it was great. So I decided to build this this channel where I kind of explained what made the Xbox platform great. And what came with it was a lot of flame war stuff on my part, and then reaction to people. And it wasn't going anywhere for sure. But that's the backstory to your question. Was the turning point was a phenomenal content creator who was small at the time, Dealer Gaming. So I was watching this guy every week on YouTube. He put out 1 to 2 videos a week, and he had like maybe 8,000 subscribers, which is pretty good. Yeah. And I felt like he was big time because he was banging out these videos. He would talk, and he had charisma, and he had knowledge of tech. And I would watch his videos on my phone at my break at work, and I was engaged on every one of them. And one day in about 4 years ago in March, we're coming up on that anniversary, he messaged me and said, we need to do something about your channel because people aren't watching it and your stuff's really good. And I was like, this is going to sound funny, but I was starstruck because
I'll have to clip this for him.
Well, it's like all of these people that we talk to in the gaming community that have channels and they get a few people watching, like we feel like we know them. We feel like we've gotten to know these people, and we feel like we can relate to them. And when they're getting, a few hundred people that watch them every week, you walk into a room at work, you can hold the attention of maybe 15 people, but you're not holding 400 people every week that want to hear every word you have to say. And so I thought Dealer was a superstar. I mean, as weird as it sounds. So, and he was doing really well. So he talked to me behind the scenes. He gave me his number, and we talked, and he had me change some things and refine what I was doing. And he pointed out, like, there's certain things that you do really well. You have to capitalize on that. And yeah, I mean, I guess 1,000 subs I was at in 2017 in March. And now we're March 2021, and I'm at 130,000. Yeah. So I'm super, super grateful for him and some of my really close friends who have helped encourage me and, told me to keep going.
Man. Yeah, that's awesome, man. It's good to hear, on Dealer's account there, that story you just told. It's nice. One of the conversations I had with Cog over at Lords of Gaming, right, is
he's the best.
Yeah, Cog's great. And him and I talk a lot, and one of the things we talk about often is how there's so many content creators out there who begin to build a platform that grows, right? And they start to get that notoriety with followers and subs, etc. And then it's like completely forget where they came from, right? In the sense of they're not willing to help or communicate or do anything with anyone who's less than kind of big known. You know what I mean? And we had a really good laugh about that a couple weeks ago when we talked for his episode. But that's why it's good to see, my point being, that's why it's good to hear someone like Dealer just reaching out to you and not really even knowing you, but reaching out to you and just saying, hey, you're doing good work here, man. Let me see if I can help you out. That's awesome.
Yeah. He changed my life. He really did. At the time, the job that I work, the full-time job I work at, like, I just wasn't going anywhere. And I'm kind of in the position where I can't really promote. So I was having a really hard time trying to become something or accomplish some things that I really couldn't do. And it was and I was doing the YouTube thing on the side, and I'd made a few bucks here and there, but it wasn't the money. It was the recognition and the accomplishment and the attention that I really wanted to get, and for people to see my work, because I do graphic design as part of my job. And it's really cool. I've made posters that are like this to like billboards, and I've been able to see them out and around, which is really cool. But this is something totally different that really fulfills my life, and it's changed the life of my family in a lot of different ways.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And when you said Cognito, I am super fortunate that I got to go and have lunch with him in, I think it was October.
Yeah, I remember seeing the pics. Yeah.
Yeah, he lives over on the East Coast, and he flew over to Washington to do something and see a couple friends. and we drove 3 hours to go up there for my family and I to hang out just so I could have lunch with someone. This is so funny. To have lunch with someone that I know on the internet is like the coolest thing, because you know we're a little bit older. Like we didn't grow up.
We are.
On the
we
internet,
can say it,
right?
Yes.
And so meeting you and talking to you, somebody that we only knew over the internet, I think that is super cool. And it's something like our generation was at first we were a little bit scared of.
we were. So years ago, I was really big in the Gears community. And I knew some of the mods. I knew some of the people that worked at Epic at the time when Epic owned Gears, and I played Gears almost every night. And one of those people, I used to live on the East Coast as well, actually not far from where GOG is now, funny enough. But one of the mods who I played with every night, her and her husband, I got to know them from Gears, and they lived up in Niagara Falls. And I remember it was about 2008, and I remember going up to stay a weekend with them. Me and my now wife went to stay up a weekend. And I just remember my mom, of all people, just telling me, like, do you really know these people? You know, they may just be trying to draw you up there so that, you know, they can do bad stuff. And I'm like, Mom, it's cool. Don't worry about it. You know, it's a different environment, I think, even from 10 years ago. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, we'll get into E3 in a little bit here, but after E3 was over, on our way home, we drove from Washington down to California. On the way home toward our halfway stop, I met Jay Fonzarelli in person.
Nice. Yeah, so, Fon's good people.
So he lives in the Bay Area, so he drove about an hour out of the way to meet us on the way up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he joked with me when we met up. He has a couple kids, we have a couple kids, and our wives were there and everything, and his wife and him were kind of half joking to each other but half serious, like, do you know this Colt guy? Like, what if they're cannibals, you know? What if they want to eat us, you know? And it's funny because they kind of half mean it, because we grew up in the 80s, you know. You didn't go meet people. You didn't go meet a pen pal. So
no. But and even like all the early movies, when internet started to kind of grow, all the early like movies were about meeting people online and getting killed, or, you know, never being seen again. You know, it's just a fear that was driven.
Yeah, I know for people that are younger, of course, it sounds funny, and we only half mean like if you're scared to meet people from the internet, but it's kind of a thing you grow up with for a while. It feels funny to meet people online. Now I cannot wait to meet more people. Yeah. I've met so many hundreds of people that I know just from Twitter and from YouTube comments and you name it. Just playing on Xbox Live, like it's crazy.
Yeah, it's you know, I think that's one of the best things about the community. In fact, I'm working on a piece right now, my next piece, which speaks to that a lot. You know, I know you're the same way, and we've played a few games together here and there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, there's a group of people that I game with almost every night now, anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 people. I've only met one of them in real life. You know what I mean? It's just that, and we talk all day, every day. It's just, you know, it's the nature of it. It just brings people together, and that's one of the aspects I really love about it. So it's cool.
Yeah, it is.
So, you know, we touched on your channel and how you got into it and all that. So what's, you know, do you continue to still feel the drive that you've always had? You know, you talked about getting into wanting your voice to be heard and kind of using your background in graphic arts and some other things, your kind of knowledge of certain aspects of the industry and gaming to get your voice out there. It's obviously taken off, like we talked about. Do you still have that same kind of drive to do that on a daily basis?
Yeah. It's all consuming, actually.
Okay.
It's so crazy. Like my wife and I go on our walks in the morning with the dogs, you know.
Yeah.
She always makes fun of it and calls it the video walk, because half the time I'll talk about YouTube stuff. I also work pretty closely with Randall Thor, who's amazing. I can't wait to meet him in person. But he makes, 2 to 4 videos a week, and we talk on the phone about what he's making. I create his thumbnail for him, kind of help him. I used to help him a lot more, but now we just talk it out. He does a lot of stuff on his own. Sure. He's learned so much. But as friends, like, we're just constantly working with each other and giving each other ideas. So it is all consuming, and I try to make a video at least once a week, sometimes 2. but it's something I think about a lot. And in my regular career, my full-time job, it's sort of public outreach, community manager driven.
Okay.
And then I do graphic design is one of the things that I provide as far as making products, producing things. So I have videography and video production and graphic design, and then the community outreach, experience for my job. And that pours into the work that I do. Like when I hear stuff that's going on with studio acquisitions or marketing and messaging that Xbox is trying to do or that they should be doing, it's natural for me to speak on experience that I have working on big projects for my full-time job. So it can also be frustrating because a lot of people are just gaming fans.
Yes.
And then they look on the outside, and I'll put it bluntly, if you don't like Xbox and you don't understand how the business works, it's easy to take a jab at how Xbox is doing something or how they're not doing something right and just say, I mean, it's blah, 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 blah. And then I look at it like, well, no, that's not how it works. Like the marketing has to approach it this way. You can't alienate a bunch of customers to please a small group of diehards. Like,
of course.
And that's the difficult decision. The problem with PlayStation, and it's not a problem. The best part about PlayStation is the things that they're doing funnel in to meet all of the customers, but also satisfy the diehard fans. Mm-hmm. So there's always a major divide.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that way.
I can imagine because, you're talking about drawing parallels to what you have obvious knowledge in and what your career is based in, right? To the aspects of the gaming industry that apply to that. And in my case, I'm a tech guy. I work in infrastructure, customer application development, et cetera. So all the time you'll hear me talking about things like xCloud, right? Or where the future is going and why Microsoft is focused on this. And people are like, well, why are they doing that? Well, it's because of this, you know what I mean? And you're right. We could talk all day, I'm sure, about the gaming, the passionate gaming fans who.
But you can see it because of your work experience. Like you can look. Wow, my TV just.
Yeah, you just got really bright all of a sudden.
Holy smokes! It does that when I'm on PC. I have a big OLED TV that's also my monitor, so I'm just right up on it. And now I'm a glowing angel. You understand that. I mean, speak on that because you look at not just xCloud, but you look at the infrastructure coming for game streaming.
Yes.
And some people may say, "Oh, it's not going to work because right now it doesn't." So tell us what you expect in the near future.
Oh. Well, you're turning it around on me, are you?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is a discussion, and
no, I know.
People need to hear it. I mean, because I think they think of now, or they think of On Live in 2008, and they think, "Oh, well, that's not going to work." But you know a little better.
Yeah. It's funny. This quote sticks out in my head whenever I'm faced with this kind of conversation. It's from Albert Pinello, who you know.
Yes. Got to meet him. Luckily,
you did meet him.
I got to. He was having lunch with Tim Dog, who's another great person we know. Yeah. And I walked up and he introduced. So I got to talk to him for a couple minutes. I feel extremely grateful because he's done cool stuff. So he's talk about Albert.
So if you don't know who Albert is, he's a ex kind of lead engineer at Xbox, who is now at Amazon Luna. In fact, I talked to him a few weeks ago. And we're going to be, I'm hoping to talk to him about Luna in the future because of what we're referring to here, right? Streaming and cloud tech and things. But the quote from him, which always stuck out to me, and I'm going to mess it up, but the essence of it was that never believe something can't be done just because it hasn't worked before. Something to that effect. And it was like, absolutely. It's like, years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation like this. If 20 years ago, say, I'm just going to go talk to Colt on video and then throw it up so everyone can watch it. It would be like a couple hours later. It would be right.
Throw me crazy.
It just people are like, oh, that can't be done. They've tried to do video online, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like that's not how technology functions, right? So the tech that Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, I mean, those I always say those are your three players, right? Those are the three that own, from a cloud infrastructure standpoint, 85%, if not more, of business level cloud, with Azure for Microsoft, of course, growing exponentially, really. I mean, Amazon's number one, and then Microsoft's kind of catching them. But anyway, we don't have to get into those details. But the point is that, the technology may not be the best today, especially when you're talking globally, because when you start to talk remote locations, it gets more challenging, of course. But it is coming. And believe me, there will be a day where the vision of play any game you want on any device, anywhere, it'll be a reality. It will happen. I mean,
boy, won't that extinguish a lot of arguments?
People will tell me I'm crazy or it won't work because of X. It'll work. It's coming. Now, there's obviously no time frame. That depends on a whole number of factors, right? But for instance, one of the things I refer to more recently is Xbox's deal with South Korea Telecom, because they're looking at these Asian markets, right? As I always say, the play in Japan, Asia, and really potentially China to a degree is getting people on their mobile devices, right? And you don't do that through. People talk about selling consoles in Japan. That market's dead in Japan.
Yeah,
that's old news. So that's the play. And yes, to your original question, we could talk about that topic forever because that's near and dear to my heart. But to your original question, it is coming. I know we've been talking about it for years, but things like these don't happen overnight. It takes years and years and years. And I think that as much of a punching bag as Stadia is right now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, which we won't talk about, but as much of a punching bag as it is, I mean, there are people who play on it. It does function. Never mind the business decisions over here, right? But the technology functions.
The technology has impressed, yes.
Yes. So it can and will and is being done right before our eyes. And it before you know it, it will become a reality in people's lives, for sure.
Yeah, and I remind people about that OnLive service, which was a PC-based, browser-based, like instant game access. And I mean, it kind of worked. For 2008.
It was revolutionary at the time. It really was.
And then I remind people, what kind of internet did you have in 2008? I think we had just gotten DSL at home, and we were late to the party. So okay. I bet a lot of people were on DSL back then, and I don't know what the speed difference is between what we're usually getting now. And then when you said it doesn't really work in remote locations and with modern game streaming, one of the realities that people have to understand is people who live out in remote locations, they don't expect cutting edge experiences, or they don't expect the impossible. It sucks to say that, but like if you live in an area where your internet is really crummy, like my brother lives across town, he lives just outside of where everyone gets internet. So he gets like the satellite internet, and it's just not great, and he pays a lot of money for it.
Yeah,
and
it can be inconsistent.
But he's not a person who's gaming or looking for that sort of thing. So it's everything isn't for everybody, and it never will be. But there are people who are fortunate to be in the right place and they like the right thing. And why hold that away from the millions of people that can enjoy something like game streaming? Because not everyone can do it. That's just not how technology works. It will spread and it will build, and finally companies will go out and they'll start pulling fiber where you never thought fiber would be. And it's just how it works.
Yeah. And it's all to capture a bigger percentage of the overall potential market. That's all it is. Consoles have a finite market. Even PCs have a finite market, right?
It doesn't feel like it though, does it? Like it feels
no,
like
it doesn't.
Millions and millions and billions and billions of people are playing on Steam, and they're playing on consoles, and everybody has a DS somewhere. But
it's true. Sure.
I hate it when people say we're a niche market. We feel like a huge community, right?
That's what it is, right? But I mean, on the level that we're talking about, when you talk about the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world, right? Those markets to them are niche. They're looking at the world. Right? There's 7.5 billion people. How are we reaching all of them? That's how they're looking at it.
That's part of what I talked about. I did a video yesterday about Phil Spencer's work up to the industry. And, he had to deal with Microsoft telling them, I mean, I don't know. We don't know what was said, but I can really assume that some of the leadership at Microsoft is telling Phil, they're there, Xbox is a little niche pocket. Like you guys make great money, and it's a great thing that you're doing for hundreds of millions of people, right?
Yeah,
we'll give you some money, but I think you've got enough to hold you over right now. And Phil understood that wasn't enough, that they needed to build games. And it's funny looking at the beginning, or mostly the entire Xbox One era, they really didn't have money for games, and they barely had anything made. And they were paying for some third-party deals. That most of their exclusives outside of Halo, Gears, and Forza were third-party deals like Rise, Quantum Break, Recore, Titanfall, Dead Rising 4, Rise of the Tomb Raider, timed exclusive. I mean, that really paints the picture of what the Xbox One was. And now you look at Matt Booty out there managing will soon be 23 studios. It's oh man, thank goodness for that, because you need that competition, because
no doubt
Xbox had lost that generation so badly that PlayStation came into this generation with a $500 console and said, our games are $70. Yep. And if Xbox had to tap out midway through the generation and not put out the Scorpio, or say, you know, we're just going to be third party, where our studios aren't going to make games, PlayStation was asking for $80 a game, and they came to an agreement for $70. Like, you need that competition. Nintendo is killing it, and they won't lower the price on their stuff.
Nintendo's out here, man. They're their own world.
Nintendo doesn't they don't calculate, right? But they're doing phenomenal. And Nintendo can say, "Oh, you want to buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on the Switch, because we bought it at Christmas a few months ago. It's still $60."
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
and they've sold 32.5 million copies of it, which is a Wii U game, by the way.
Right.
A Wii U game. No, you're right. We need the competition. And I think that's where, you know, when people kind of go off the deep end with these conversations of, you know, I want Microsoft to end everything, or PlayStation. It doesn't matter who you want to end everything, right? It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
No way.
The reason Xbox is where it is today is because they got punched in the mouth. And it's part of that conversation from the Xbox One. And what people don't realize, to your point about content, because content is king. It's the reason you see all these Netflix originals, why Prime or Hulu, all these are investing in this, right? Why the Halo show is now Viacom is moving it to Paramount Plus, is to get people subscribed to Paramount Plus. That was news last week. But, you know, going back, people don't realize the PlayStation 4 generation and how it kind of had those tentpole titles. I know you, like me, right, are a big fan of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn is great.
Yeah, one of my favorites, right? And games like, of course, God of War always gets talked about. But those big tentpole games, the planning for those wasn't done like 2 years prior. All of the foundation for those studios was during the PS3 era. When you talk about Sony, Santa Monica, et cetera, it takes a long time to invest and get studios like that to running, you know, the kind of marathons to get those AAA quality games out. And that's what we're witnessing in real time with Xbox, right? They're doing
it takes not 2 years, it takes 5 years for a AAA game to come out that's like a high rated, quality, fully finished and fully featured game like Horizon Zero Dawn or Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2018 was my top game of the PlayStation. Like it had the production values, it looked incredible, it felt great. It was like Batman but faster and open world like Arkham City, and it was a great PlayStation title. And Xbox put out these games that were planned for a while, but they had a different idea of what gaming should be when they were at their peak. And I tried to tell that story with the Phil Spencer video, is that they were at the top of their game with the 360, and they started pushing that Kinect stuff with Connectimals and Dance Central. Great game, by the way. And and they just kind of the TV. We've gone over a million times.
Yeah, we've gone over it a million times. But it kind of goes back to the point. Microsoft's vision is reaching broader markets, because you know as well as I do, with the Xbox One, their thing is we're going to reach 200 million households. And their focus to do so was bring games, their success of 360 along, and add TV, Connect, and all these other things. And we know how that blew up in their face. But
when you say it like that, it actually sounds like a cool idea. We're just going to add all this great stuff with extra TV, and
it's the the best intentions, right? As they always say in business. So so it's definitely been interesting to witness. But great conversation. It does amaze me, going all the way back to the original point we were touching on, which is, there are a lot of gaming fans out there who truly love gaming, love all consoles, love all games, doesn't matter, and they love being part of that conversation. But what I always tell people, it's like there's too many people that talk on things like acquisitions or technology or infrastructure, cloud game, whatever it may be, where they really just don't have the experience to be talking about those things. It becomes an echo chamber, right? Because then it's like a snowball rolling downhill, and you just see it spread. And it does get a little exhausting at times.
Yeah, we're all armchair developers, design and software and hardware engineers, and
we wear a lot of hats.
Yeah, we all do. Some of us know more than others. Some of us just want to make other people mad.
That's true.
It drives me crazy.
Yep.
And in the past, I've done way too many, trolley jabs and stuff. I try to back it off. I also try to enjoy it and keep it lighthearted. I have some friends who do it on a daily basis, several posts a day, just riling people, and just, yeah, I mean, I've done it way too much. Today today I told someone, I was like, I don't understand. Like, you're constantly have an argument against anything positive I have to say. You grief anything. You tell people that you don't like it, and not everybody likes this, and why are they doing this when they should be doing that? It's like, you just seem to challenge everything I say. And I said, it gets really old, man. Not everyone wants to be as unhappy as you are. And it comes off as a rude thing for me to say, but I really feel like there are people out there in any aspect, but in the gaming community, that just don't want people to enjoy what they enjoy. And I just think it's okay.
Just gaming, right? It's across all kinds of content.
Yeah, it's across anything, but I really only stay in the gaming space as far as social media. I don't get involved in any other types of topics. I think I'd probably go crazy.
Me too.
And I think it's okay to mute and block people who really just want to waste your time. And I don't think it's soft to block someone. I think what I've learned, I have a lot of eyes on me because I've grown a certain amount of followers, and there's a lot more people who are critical what I have to say. And that happens to anybody that gets some eyes on them. But I think the soft is rolling over and letting people waste your time and grief you and the people that you interact with.
Completely agree.
So I've tried to do better, and I've got a lot of people watching in the gaming community that follow us. Like, I know you're followed by a lot of people who make games, who work behind the scenes, who work with the people that work behind the scenes for gaming. And it's really important to just snuff those people away, because they'll just waste your time and drag you into a worthless argument.
Yeah, you're 100% spot on. I say it all the time. I have over 1,000 people muted now. And I mute people every day. I don't respond. It doesn't bother me. I tell people all the time, look, not to get personal, but I've been through an awful lot of my life. Yes, someone on the internet talking to me about my opinion being wrong or something. You can't phase me, man. You just can't. Yeah. You get muted and I just move on. It's not worth the time. And to your point, when you do start to get eyes on you, and you have a lot more than me, obviously, but there is to your point with developers and publishers, and you're running a channel, I'm running a site. There's a level of professionalism that is kind of expected there too, and that's what I'm here for: the gaming community, the good in it, the positive, and content creators, right? Including developers and people like yourself. All these other people who just want to chatter and argue, I don't have time for it, man.
No, I really, I'm a proponent for, if you don't like something, like, you could say it once and move on. Like, I don't play a lot. We have 2 Nintendo Switches in the house, and I don't play on them a lot. And there are games that are big that I've tried that just didn't grab me. You'll never hear me talk about them, because it's not really if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. We were growing up. We grew up on that.
Yes.
It's just like, why do I need to talk about something if I don't like it? Like,
it takes energy that you could be doing something else with. Like, it doesn't like, why would I take time out of my day to tell someone that the thing they like, I don't like? Why does that matter? Why would that ever matter to them?
I mean, it seems obvious, right? But like, when games come out, let's take the Medium, for example. Medium came out, it got a 70 or 71, which means
I reviewed it. Yeah.
Which means it's a good game. I'll put it the best way. It's a good game. It's better than average, or it's an average good game. Me personally, I played it for an hour and a half. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to finish this. This isn't my type of game.
Fair.
So I might say, and of course somebody asks you can say something, but I might just say, I tried the medium. It's not for me. I really don't have anything other to say, but you'll get people to say, that game is trash, or I play that game. That game looks like trash, or the visuals look like trash. That gameplay is trash. It's like, there's so much of that. And I feel like I fight against that all the time. I usually just try to give people a reasonable response and correct them. And then I always hear back something even more unreasonable. And it's like, click, mute.
Yeah, exactly.
And lately I went and looked up my numbers. I have 2,600 people blocked. I thought I had like 10,000, honestly. I blocked so many people who harass me, insult me because I like Xbox, insult my content or my work, or insult my preference, which is super weird to insult someone's preference. Like, if somebody loves playing NHL 21 and I don't like hockey games, like,
that's me, actually.
So weird. Like, why would someone say, you play a game like that? That's trash. So anyway, why did I even bring that up? But lately, I'm just like, if I see a way a person acts, they're going to act like that all the time. I can look at someone's Cognito taught me this. You look at someone's timeline. If they have like 10 posts and none of them are talking about what game they're enjoying, you're gone.
Yep.
Cognito's the best.
No, he is. Yes.
So yeah, I mean, they're doing their show on Sunday. I encourage anybody who knows about Iron Lords to check in. They're going to have a special broadcast for their stream on Sunday. So anybody who follows Ainsley and I should go and check that out, drop in, say hi, and give support to this team. And you'll know why when you get in there.
Yeah. And I mentioned it on a stream last night. I've started the whole Halo saga again before Infinite comes up, and mentioned it. I taught the COG this morning. So it'll be a special one this weekend. Yeah. So this will go up before then. So if you're listening to this, please tune in.
It'll be Sunday morning on the in the States, and Sunday afternoon in the UK. I'm trying to learn this because I talked to the Game on Daily guys who are in the UK. They're in London, and I talked to them quite a bit. So I'm trying to get more aware of what time it is on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, because you're all the way out west too. So that's 8 hours, I think, to England.
Yes, 8 hours. Right? So I got to do the math, and I'm like, you got a 12-hour clock, and you got 8, 4.
carry the 3. Oh man. So so let's talk about game shows, and we can talk about E3, of course, because that's obviously how we met, and we touched on it briefly. But so 2019 E3 lined up for, was it E3 or FanFest we were lined up for? I thought it was FanFest.
Well, I mean, it was FanFest because E3 started the next day.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You're right. No, you're right. That was beforehand. So lined up for FanFest, and there were a bunch of the community that anyone listening to this will know, right? I mean, it was me, you, obviously the Iron Lords were there. Boom was there. First time I met Boom and hung out with him too. Just a whole bunch of people that you likely know. And I remember going in the auditorium. We were kind of all sitting in the same spot, and I know we were having a good laugh, and everyone was in really good spirits. I forget what the hell we were joking about. I have
so many good stories. You got to unleash me on this one.
No, you're fine, man. We'll share them. Anyway, that's how we met, and got to know each other. But I mean that those times, and let's go ahead and jump into some of those times so you can share. But we'll talk about the COVID impact and, the disappointment in 2020 and now this year as well, which sucks. But man, let's reflect on the good times and why we, people like us really get upset about E3. I know there's a bunch of people online who are like, E3's gone, doesn't matter. It matters.
Yeah, it matters. There are.
Yeah. And if you've been there and have that camaraderie with people, you understand why it matters.
Yeah, it absolutely matters. So I haven't really paid such close attention to E3 until the past few years, probably the past 5 or 6 years. And so I thought, when my channel started to grow, I thought it'd be great to go. And I was so fortunate that I was invited to FanFest. Yeah. So when we went, we were in line outside the building, and we're supposed to line up and get in and register and get our lanyard, whatever you call it.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, I see it on your screen. Mine's hanging up opposite over here. I've got a whole I made like a whole collage too. It's on the wall.
Nice.
But yeah, I went with my wife. I asked her if she wanted to go. It's so cool. Like she doesn't like video games or doesn't play them, but she had so much fun. So we went and waited in line, and we're just kind of talking on the outside of the building. And I heard a couple people go, "Are you Colt?" Like they recognized my voice while I was talking to people.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And then we met waiting outside that line. Like you said, I met Boom, King David, Cognito. Oh my gosh, so many people.
Yeah, so many people I'm going to forget too. Yeah. Obviously Tim's there.
Oh yeah. Tim and I'd been talking, and so we go in the building and meet, and this is the funny story I want to tell. Tim Dog said, "Colt, you're gonna love E3. They have a whole spread for breakfast. They have bacon, eggs, sausage, toast, hash browns, orange juice, you name it." And so we left the hotel. I was starving. We waited in line. We get in there, and they had a table full of room temperature Dasani water and some donuts.
They sure did. You're right.
And I was like, dang it. And of course, I didn't want to look like a pig, so I grabbed one little donut and the bottle of water. And so they shuffle us into this movie theater as like a holding spot before we went into the actual big event center. And we're waiting in there, and I had my water bottle, and I put it on my seat between my legs, and the lid wasn't on. And when we were talking and joking, and I squeezed my thighs together, and the water goes and it went all over my crotch, down to the back of my jeans. And I was like brand new to I don't know anybody other than just meeting you guys and Sean LeBrie. I was sitting next to Sean LeBrie,
with us too,
who's an amazing graphic artist that's in the Xbox community. So I was super embarrassed, and I went out, and I was like stuck my leg up on the air dryer in the bathroom.
It's funny because I remember that happening now, and then I remember thinking, because we were all in a tight group there in the seats, and I was like, where the hell did Colt go? And yeah, I remember that now. And there was like people who had to quick take a pee, and I was in there like, so what a great time. And then they shuffled us into that event center, and when you've watched E3 and you walk into that building, and it is production level to the 10th degree. They had lights, the spotlights moving. They had LED lights that matched every game tone color. Yeah, so if it was State of Decay 2, it was all orange to match everything. Like, it was incredible. And this screen that we're sitting in front of, it's like a 70 million inch screen at the highest quality. I was in heaven. It was so cool. I couldn't believe that there was those 3 or 4 years as a YouTuber where I'd sat in front of my computer and watched intently and recorded stuff and then wrote a video. And I got to sit there and just watch it. And I knew I wasn't making a video. I had already told myself, we're going to go to this event and have a good time, and I'll report on it maybe when we get home from LA. So I was super, super happy to be there, and it was freaking awesome. It is something else when you're in the show, because the first year, so the first year I went was prior 2018. No, I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah. What did you wear in 2018? Because you got to get to that part too for this year or that next year. Yeah. What did you wear the first year in 2018? Yeah, so the first year I wasn't really, I hadn't kind of built up much of an audience yet. I was covering it for the site. Bert and I went. Mm-hmm. The annoying thing was I got invited to the Xbox show, but he didn't. So I got in, and I was sitting by myself. I didn't know anyone in the show. Bert couldn't come in with me, so I was sitting with just a random group of people, and I was blown away because for me, I followed E3 since I was a kid. I mean, ever since the stories of it, and it was kind of surreal to finally be in a show. But going back to your point of like actually being in the conference in front of the screen, seeing like Keanu coming out. Oh my! We were there. I mean, we were standing there, You know,
let's just pretend that game came out and it was like a 9 out of 10 across the board, right?
You know, I'm rocking.
I love Cyberpunk to death. By the way, I love the game regardless of everything people said.
Yeah,
but
when
Keanu Reeves came out, like nobody, like that was like the super G14 classified. Nobody knew he was coming out.
No, and when you know,
how loud was it when that smoke, right?
Yeah, and you couldn't tell who it was. Open. It was just a silhouette, and then he walked out, and everyone
because they just shown him where he pulled off his glasses. He said, "Wake up, samurai," with the F word, and then the smoke came out, and we were like, "Oh my gosh!" Yeah, it was crazy.
The funniest part, like people forget about that moment, is we were so loud and everyone was yelling so much. We actually threw him off his game. Remember, he was he's like, "Hold on, man, I got to get this announcement out."
Yeah, because everyone concentrated on the Europe breathtaking, which the Peter the leader guy that we got to meet at E3, or you might have met the year before. He's always out front talking to everybody. But yeah, Phil Spencer told Keanu. I got to hear this story from him. He said, we told Keanu, you're going to come out and these guys are going to knock you off your feet. He goes, yeah, I know. I've been in front of, he goes, no, you don't understand. Like gaming fans are a special kind of fan. Like they are going to go crazy. He goes, yeah, no, it's cool. And then when he came backstage, he goes, what the crap was that? Those guys are crazy. So yeah. Oh wow. It's such a great experience.
But that speaks to the energy we're talking about, right? While you can get excited, and I watch every show, and if I'm not there, obviously I'm in front of the theater here watching it and everything. But when you're there, it's completely different. So yeah, just a fantastic experience. But I forget even how we got to that point now.
Yeah, I mean that was the first. Was that the first day? Yeah, they registered
because they do theirs on Sunday before some of the other ones. Because I know, I don't think I was with you, but I know me and King and the Lords and Bird and stuff. We were at Bethesda as well, which is kind of
go to that.
Yeah, funny looking back on now. I went with PlayStation Bra, another dude who's always there, great guy. But yeah, it's just again the point remains, right? It's something special when you're there, and I hope. We got the news last week that 2021 is live shows canceled. We'll see what they end up doing digitally, but hopefully.
Yeah, like what people don't understand was, we flew to LA, hung out in LA, got a hotel, went to restaurants, hung out with friends. Like it's just one excuse to not get to travel and go be somewhere. And the people who say, who cares if E3 gets canceled? Maybe they're the type of people who says, oh, why go see an NFL game when you can just watch it from home?
True.
It's not the same. Like,
no, it's not.
You can listen to music or watch a live video on YouTube of a band, but we go to a lot of concerts.
Yeah.
I've probably been to I've probably been to seen 50 bands live in concert. There's nothing like being at an actual live event with all the people there. And COVID has taken that reality and totally killed it for the past year. And possibly in the near future, some of these type of events will never be the same way they were. Yeah. Think about all the time, like when we met at E3, like it was like, boom, hug and handshakes and high fives and put your arm around a buddy that
tens of people, getting together and just
yeah. And then we go. Of course, you had the big Xbox show, and then you go to the convention center that's just down the corner, and that is packed. Sometimes elbow to elbow with people. Sometimes it's not as thick.
Yeah.
But like, will that ever be where we were walking through and there's the huge Borderlands 3 display?
Oh, that thing was amazing, wasn't it?
And then Bethesda had their big display, and you couldn't even get in to play Doom Eternal because the line was so long. Sure. There was a long line that would tell you can't get into the long line. So yeah, it's something it's something really special that I hope comes back.
Yeah,
it really is.
As we're talking about this, I forgot to mention that this next segment will have to be sponsored by Bang.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. You put that down at the bottom. So
I'll probably get copyrighted, but we'll try to ignore it.
Well, you didn't put the TM, so you're good.
That's true. That's
true.
So,
the very last day of E3, Ainsley, my wife, and I, and Bert were walking around the convention center one last time, and I was so worn out. I don't know if you were as tired.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I was.
It's exhausting.
My wife wasn't even tired, but I was exhausted. And they had these girls walking around in like, what would you call it? Like bikinis almost, like just
basically,
scantily dressed, giving out cold Bang energy drinks. And we were
which at the time, none of us had even like heard of.
Was it a brand new drink?
It was.
Because we made the joke for like a year.
Because now they're in. We joke that they're in like supermarkets. I had never seen that before. Before that,
yeah, and they had they had some weird flavors like champagne mist or some weird thing, but champagne rose or something.
Remember how many of them we had in our bag? It's like, do you need another one of these?
Yeah,
at
that point, the convention center was like half emptied. Like most people had seen their fill, and we were going to go home the next day. Yeah. So we had a couple armloads of 2 or 3 bangs each, and drinking. I'm like, I was starting to get numb. But yeah, that was that's a cool memory.
It is too funny. Every time I see one, dude, I just laugh. Like it just strikes me funny, even after it's nearly been, believe it or not, 2 years, right?
Yeah,
which is crazy to think. But man, so what else? You said you wanted to share a few of those memories. Are those the ones you wanted to tackle? Did you have something else you want that jumped out?
Yeah, I mean, there was some things. I don't know if there were some things that are really cool for me. We went to a bar. Like the first or second night, I think the second night, and a bunch of Microsoft Xbox people showed up, and I got to meet some people that people don't know by name, but I think it was really cool to get to meet them. Like I met Carl Ledbetter.
Okay. Yeah.
He's the guy that invented the mouse scroll wheel.
That's awesome.
Of course, he made a whole bunch of stuff that Xbox uses. My screen just dimmed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I got to talk to James Shields.
Shields, that was
the head of hardware.
Yeah.
Accessories. He's kind of moved up and around at Xbox, and it's just that camaraderie. The Xbox community is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's hard to explain, right? It's almost like a kind of a brotherhood. Which is I always find very interesting. As much as I love everything, there is something a little different about that community.
Yeah. It was just a really good time, and I don't know. I was ready. I think I said this before the show. I was so nervous. I didn't really talk to as many people as I would have.
Right.
I do have a cool story. The FanFest night when they let just the Xbox fans that had the special pass go in, and we got to go up on the stage and play some of the games and meet some of the people.
Yeah, very fun.
I was in line with my wife to play Bleeding Edge, I think. And we were way back in the line, and I was talking to these 2 guys that said, this is so crazy. They said that they put in for FanFest. The guy put in for FanFest, and he didn't think he would win it. And then he gets an email saying you got FanFest. He's like, crap, I don't have money to go. Like I got to fly from Australia to the States and pay for all that.
Yeah.
And it was like $45 per person that went to the special charity. He's like, I don't really have the money, but this is an opportunity. I got picked to go. So this guy from Australia told his best friend, hey, do you want to go with me? And they scrounged up a bunch of their money, and they went. And these 2 guys were like, just all smiles. And my wife and I were talking to them. I didn't know who they were. We were just talking, and they didn't know who I was. But we talked for like 30 minutes while we're waiting in line, and they were so grateful to be there. They were so excited. The smile didn't leave their face the whole time. They were in 7th heaven. It was worth the trip. And then I get home from E3, and I was tweeting about all the people I got to meet. And that guy from Australia goes, you were Colt Eastwood? I was talking to you. Like I've been following you. And I thought, oh, it's so cool that I get to just talk to these gaming people that freaking love games as much as I do.
It is awesome when you see that kind of positivity, because again, we've touched on it a few times, right? But it's easy to be critical, and it's easy to kind of blow some of these things off. But there is a special aspect to this. In fact, I was just pulling up as you were talking, pulling up a couple pictures. Like here's one I know we've shared a bunch of times, but you and I just running into Tim Schafer. And I made the dumbest face ever.
Well, no, I mean that's perfect. Like you're like is this real? Like check this out.
He was just standing there with a bunch of people from Double Fine, literally waiting to go into a restaurant, around the corner. And we just ran into him and said, "Hey, man, big fan. Can we get a pic?" And he's just like, "Yeah, of course."
You with your Sea of Thieves bag. Like, we had so much stuff. We just gone through the Mixer booth and checked that out. Mixer's gone.
Yeah.
We hung out in there and we played Gears Hive Busters.
We did before it came out.
Yep.
Yeah, we did. By the way, we mentioned Sean LeBrie. That's that's that night too. And Bill Stillwell, another legend, who's actually at Oculus now, but he's still very much involved in the conversations around. And then Rod Ferguson, of course, who you know, is what do you call it, at Blizzard now with Diablo, right? So,
yeah, it was with Coalition. So we were outside the theater. I was
trying to find as many pics as I could just find on my desktop.
Was it the second night? Yeah, but Craig Duncan came out, who runs Rare for Sea of Thieves, and we got to meet him. And I had him. That was at FanFest, actually, when I got Craig Duncan to sign this little paper bag where one of the hors d'oeuvres was in. So I ate one of the hors d'oeuvres, and I had that in my pocket because I didn't have a garbage can by me. And I'm like, "Can you sign this?" And he took like a little golf pencil and he signed it.
You still have it?
I sent it to Zocker87, who's like the biggest Sea of Thieves fan ever. I sent him that and a couple other things that were Sea of Thieves related. So,
cool.
We got to meet. It was just, I don't know. It's so cool. We're such nerds that
we are.
I saw Pete Hines crossing the road, across the road from the convention center.
Yeah, I got to pick with Pete. Yeah,
who's the community manager for Bethesda Games? For anybody who doesn't know him by name, he's a cool looking dude. I saw him. He's just walking by himself, like drinking water, and he's got a backpack full of stuff. I'm like, "Hey, Pete!" And he turns around, and I'm like, "Hey, a quick picture, buddy." And he's like, "Oh gosh, I'm not famous," but to me, he is, because he's pushed forward, Fallout and Machine Games with the Wolfenstein games, and it's so cool, man. I've got a bunch of those pictures like in my library.
Yeah, I only have some on here, but there's so many people, right? Like Bonnie Ross from 343, of course, is there, and Kiki Wolfkill, Chris Charla, who runs ID at Xbox, Money Rumble, of course, Chris, who runs FanFest. I mean, you just get to kind of interact with all those people, of course, like Greenberg. Phil was there, and I think the only person who didn't come to FanFest that night was Major Nelson. He had something else that came up that night, and he wasn't at that.
I heard he was really super, super sick.
There was something that happened, and he didn't,
because he would have shown up in the waiting room, the waiting theater, before we went into the big show. And he wasn't there. And someone said, I heard he was feeling really crummy. That guy's like at everything. That reminded me of another. So after the show wrapped, the big E3 briefing, and they showed all the games and everything, everybody kind of rushed up front to talk to some of the executives. And Aaron and I had been talking behind the scenes a little bit, and I created a studios graphic with all the characters, and he had them put on T-shirts.
That's right. Yeah.
I think it was at the end of 2018. So I'd had him put on T-shirts, and he emailed me one day, right toward the beginning of 2019. He's like, "Can you send me that graphic, but small enough to fit on a onesie?" And I'm like, "A baby onesie?" He's like, "Yeah." And I go, "Okay, I can do that." I'm like, I thought it was funny because he doesn't realize I could just send him the graphic, and the company would just shrink it down.
Sure.
But I mean, I did it for him because, Aaron Greenberg asked. So after the show wrapped for the big E3 conference, I went up and Aaron recognized me. He's like, "Colt!" And we talked and hugged. And he goes, "I have to introduce you to someone." He took me over to Matt Booty. And he goes, "Matt, this is the guy that made the graphic for your."
I remember that. I was standing like
Were
a
you
couple
there
feet
with me?
from you. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
my
awesome.
gosh. I thought that was so freaking cool. So he goes, oh, and he pulls out his phone and he pulls up the picture of his baby wearing that graphic. Oh, man. And it reminds me of the old days when my kids were little. That's long gone.
Yeah, me as well. I was joking with someone the other day. My stepdaughter is 28.
Oh, my gosh. What does that make you, 72?
No, feel like it sometimes, but not quite. But yeah, I think these experiences, that we're kind of talking about, it's just it not only talks about E3, but certain aspects like Aaron's a good example of just that really, really just enjoys the gaming community.
Yeah.
And that's one of those aspects. Is I've said it many times. One of the things I wish Nintendo and PlayStation, for that matter, did better was have more of a focused out front interacting with their fans, because Xbox does it extremely well. Some argue Xbox does it too much, and you can have that debate if you want, but I just it's nice seeing the constant interaction and support for the people who support them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's different. A lot of the people at Xbox are pretty out front on social media. So you'll hear them explain things or give feedback or share things from creators. And it's really cool. It's really cool. They work on E3 as soon as it wraps.
Yeah. It's a year long. It's a cycle.
Yeah. I watched a behind the scenes video for the 2019, the one that we are talking about. And yeah, they said they pretty much start planning as soon as it's wrapped. So it's a lot of work, a lot of people that we'll never meet that do all that stuff. So I think it's super important. And I'm glad at least they're trying to stream the event live, but the reality is that these publishers and developers are doing a really good job sharing their own content like they did last year. That sucks because that gives an excuse not to hold the event. And they do pay a lot of money just to be on the E3 platform.
Yeah. Yep.
So darn, like,
it's, I think you said it earlier. It's hard to imagine a time next year or beyond where it ever kind of goes back to the way it was. Right. Yeah. Not just E3, many things, but I think E3 in particular is, we'll see how this year goes. Cause this year they're trying to structure it more like a digital version of the live show, meaning that it's 3 days planned. There's a preview week for media, but then it's 3 days centered. But to your point, when you have the publishers, like whether you're Xbox, PlayStation, Ubisoft, whoever, right? When they can put on their own show and generate tens and tens of millions of views without any extra cost, or without all the effort of dealing with the ESA, it kind of makes it a hard sell,
Yeah. And those of us who work from home, I work from home for my full-time job. Doing things over the internet has its own challenges, but overall, I just think it's easier. I hate that that's the truth because it's going to take away some of the things that we love. But if you think about the logistics of E3, if E3 2021 means that they build a visual media structure of how they're going to present, and then they reach out to all the partners involved and say, send us your game presentations or send us your developer interviews, and you have like this certain time slot that we're going to fit you in. And then a team for E3 sits on their computer and puts this timeline together for a live upstream. It's easier than getting on stage, having the lights, sound, and synced, and production manager telling you ready and go, like all that stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like that's an orchestrated event that takes so many people. Yeah. And E3 can happen the same way without walking up on stage, because when you think about it, a small percentage are there at the event. Everyone else is watching it from home. Yeah. So not a whole lot has to change. So if the E3 board can lower the entry costs for these developers and publishers to get involved and get everyone to say, hey, it's E3, we gotta make our contribution and show our stuff at E3, even if we want to do our own thing, we gotta at least go where everyone's funneling in. Then E3 will thrive until we can get to a point where we can pack up the underground parking garage. Was one of the places we waited to go in the first day. Where did you wait?
That's a pretty common thing. Yeah, to get an E3. In fact, 2019 was better because it was the first time that Season Gaming got kind of full media access.
Yes.
We had risen to that level finally. 2018, the first year we went, this is a true story, and it doesn't get talked about enough. Bert and I still laugh about it. 2018, we weren't media. We were just part of the gaming community, basically, that got into E3, right? So we're lined up in a parking garage, and Bert and I have these little backpacks because we have camera and a few other things for coverage, obviously. Mm-hmm. And to cut it was about I'm not even joking. This debate went on with security for probably 20 minutes to where they and we were yelling in front of all the other people.
They didn't want you in with your backpacks.
No, but here's what's so funny. It's like, you're not media. You can't bring these things in, and your bag has to be so small or whatever. It was stupid, right?
There was a rule. It couldn't. Remember?
It couldn't have a backpack. There's a guy standing next to me with a goddamn duffel bag, right? It's like
this is the best. I love this.
this big of stuff, right? Bert has a backpack. I'm not joking. It's one of those mini media backpacks, right?
Uh-huh.
And the guy, after all this debate and argument, security guard comes back. The head, we had already asked for the head of the security guard. He comes back and he goes, there's just a mandate in the rules. You cannot have a double strap backpack. And Bert's like, what do you mean double strap? That guy's carrying a duffel bag.
With
and he's
straps.
like, you can't have 2 straps. And Bert's like, you're telling me that if I take this same bag and cut one of the damn shoulder straps off of it, I can get in? And the guy said, yes. And me and Bert were like, give us a knife. And we literally, both of us cut one of our backpack straps off each of our backpacks, same
Just
exact
one of
bag,
them?
same content, and walked in holding it over one arm.
Oh my gosh.
That's how stupid it gets sometimes at these events.
That is so funny. It's so funny. He's like, give me a knife. I mean, that could have been the whole reason why they didn't want to let you in the first place.
Ridiculous.
You're like, let me take the machete out of this and I'll cut a strap.
Yeah. And it's not even like, I'm telling you, we were carrying a few portable cameras, lights, minor stuff for content. And it's just like, what do you think we're doing?
Well, you helped my wife get in with her backpack. You told us that story while we were waiting outside and you said,
oh, give it because we were media.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're media, they don't even look at you. You go in. So
you put the backpack on your shoulder. We walked through the double doors, and you said, "Here," and you gave it back to
her. Yeah, because we knew what she was about to get assaulted with these freaking guards, and I was like, "I've got the media badge. Just give it to me."
But for those who don't go, like, it's such a chill thing. Like when you're in the convention center, it's packed full of people. Everyone's super cool, like waving, smiling.
Yeah.
Nobody's fighting over console wars. Like I went over and hung out in the PlayStation area, and they were showing like Persona Royale Edition and Judgment and stuff. And I saw some stuff that I hadn't seen a whole lot of, and people they're so happy to be there. It's such a chill, cool place.
Yeah, it kind of brings it back down to where it should always be in theory, right? It's just an appreciation for the art, the industry, the games, the creators, etc. So it's awesome. Yeah. So man. So we've talked about kind of your channel, your history with it, some of the events and good times we've had. The last, which I hope we can start to relive again next year. I guess we'll see. But what's next for you, man? I mean, obviously the growth's been amazing, and you've gotten to a place now that at least a few years ago, you never even imagined, I don't think, that you would be at.
No, there's no way. Like, if somebody would have told me that I'd be able to talk to like Phil or Aaron or do some of this stuff or have, do an interview with Jason Ronald or an interview with Major Nelson, like, there's no way. Like, I've worked really hard to hone the craft that I have with graphics and the marketing stuff, and really tried to make my YouTube channel the best I can make it. I'm just really super grateful I've had these opportunities. And the next thing that I am working on is I've started to be on camera more.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I would like to do is I'm going to start shopping for a camera and a light. Right now I have just a regular HD camera clipped onto my TV so I can talk to you and other people. And I really like that. I no longer feel like I have to hide behind a disembodied voice on this microphone. I feel comfortable with the things I've done, and I've blocked enough people who are absolutely horrible that I'm okay having my face out there. It really, that really is something you have to think about when you get a certain amount of people who, ride your case and stuff.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no qualms about that anymore. So I would like to do an occasional interview and make a production video where I'm talking to someone that works in the industry on camera.
Cool.
But I'd also like to be on camera a little bit in my videos. I know some people do videos where they talk the whole time on camera and show a little bit of
that's how this started, actually, is me talking on camera about things with kind of some footage on the side.
Yeah, like you've done like the news thing. Like
I've
watched your stuff when you do the news panel up here on the side.
Yeah.
I would like to do something where I'm on camera occasionally, like maybe 10% of the time, and the rest of the time is all the rest of the production. Just kind of get people to relate to who I am when I'm talking.
Yeah.
Because I'm having so much fun doing this channel. It really has changed my life. And it's funny when I think about buying an Xbox console, it was kind of worked into a life-changing thing. And I don't know how long we'll be able to do stuff like this, but I want to have as much fun as I can while I can.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's I made a comment last week on Twitter that kind of blew up about just taking note. It's the old adage of you're often in the good times and you don't realize they're the good times until they're gone.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like for a lot of us, I don't know about you. We joke about being older now, but I feel better and more confident, and I enjoy what I'm doing now than I ever have. I just love it.
Yeah, I do. I've grown a lot of confidence in a lot of different ways. I've been in a couple different bands as a lead singer, so I've been out in front of like 50 or a couple hundred people, and that's great. But it's funny that I was nervous in front of a group of people that were just standing on a sidewalk, and that dissolved away pretty quickly once we got in, just started meeting everybody, took group pictures of people that I didn't know who were in the group picture when we took it.
Yeah.
And then I go back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to meet all these people. Yeah, it's really been very cool. And I just want to be able to do that more. I always say, like you said it so perfectly when you said the good old days could be now until they're gone. I always say, what if now is the good old days?
Yeah.
Like we have to pay attention. Because I've said that so many times, like, oh, the good old days were this, or good old days were that. And there's times where I said, right now could be the good old days. And then I look back, I'm like, yeah, they were. Like, so I feel fortunate that my life has almost always been pretty good. We always have those times when we deal with really difficult tragedies or difficult things that happen in our lives. And right now we're dealing with things that are difficult, and the world is a difficult place, but the gaming community and playing games is such a great escape.
Yes.
And to be on podcasts and to be on a show like this and talk about like two things that we love the most is creating content, playing games, and then throw in talking to the people that love games as much as we do. Yeah, it means a lot to me.
Yeah, I like it. I remember when we were first, I like, obviously, the message, completely agree. But what I was saying I like is your idea of starting to be on camera a little more in your videos. I think that's a good idea, at least from my perspective, because I like your concept of getting to know people and letting people, the community who does truly appreciate what you do, get to know you more, right? Because I know for a while there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know we talked previously about there's a long time there where you were never on camera.
Oh, no, it wasn't until like a few months
recently.
ago.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great, man. I love to see it. And I think, if I can understand the hesitation given, some of the people we've talked about, but I think it's great. So all the best.
I think it means a lot because there are people that I see in my comment section or that respond to tweets or that I talk to on Twitter or on YouTube comments that I've talked to a lot. And I feel like I kind of know those people, even if we've never talked outside of just replies, right? So a connected internet socially means that it's so crazy because you feel like you get to know someone. Like I'm really into music, and you feel like you get to know band members because you've read all their history or you listen to the songs and you connect the dots about what they're going through or what their life is like. And so you feel like you kind of know someone. And I think if I'm on camera just a little bit, someone who feels like they know me a little bit feels like they know me a little bit better. And I think it's really easy to hide behind an avatar and make an insult to someone's content or some opinion or some information they shared. But if you show your face, it takes the anonymity away. Yep. And then you watch someone who's on camera. I think it changes things a little bit. Yep. That's not why I would do it, but I just feel like I've earned enough of what I've done to where I should be okay to be on camera a little bit and talk to people and talk about gaming like this with a camera on me.
Yeah.
No, I think it would be okay.
Yeah. I think it's great. And I completely agree with what you said there as well. I mean, the methodology of it, and it's humanizing, right? It humanizes because there are so many personas online that we have to deal with, and it's nice when you can humanize and put a real person and face and family and everything that goes along with that behind that online profile that you think you know so well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, well, cool, man. It's been an awesome conversation, man. It's, what is there anything kind of coming up near future? Anything you want to shout out? Obviously, I say this to a lot of people I have on. Anyone who watches my content already knows who you are, so they're not discovering you per se. But anything you want to shout out to, who people are going to tune in or listen to this?
I mean, I don't know. There's so many people. I talked about how much I've worked to get to where I am. And I've also kind of touched on the people who have helped me get to where I am. I mean, if I started trying to name who that is, but they're close friends that I talk to every day that have either helped me through difficult feedback and criticism. And then there are friends of mine who have just continually encouraged me to keep doing what I'm doing. And, when things are down here, they're up here. I work with the RDX podcast. I've been a member of Dealers Podcast. It's every Tuesday for 4 years almost. And those
time flies.
Yeah, those guys. And we've had Luca in there, a girl in there. Those people have been part of everything that has helped me grow and learn. And I've been on other podcasts that have taught me. We talked about Game On Daily. Yep. They're another really big supporter, and I'm a big supporter of them. They're really super talented, and they teach me. Like Asa will correct me because he's so smart. He'll say, "Well, actually, Colt, this works. This.
Asa is really sharp. Yeah,
because he's just a matter of fact.
Yes,
he's very quiet and reserved, very, very smart, very respectful, and when he speaks, I listen.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just great people in this community that I've seen a picture of them, and then I got to meet them, and I have to thank all of them. Like you talked about Sean the Bree.
Yeah.
We made a couple jokes back and forth, and we connected on mutual things that we liked. And he responded one day with a GIF. Did we just become best friends? Yep. From Step Brothers.
Yeah.
And little things like that grow, and then I actually get to meet him in person at FanFest. Like, there's such great people in the community. I have to thank all of them for everybody who shared my videos and just told me I did a great job. Like, that really means a lot. I think we live in a type of environment where we watch really great content, and if it's on YouTube, we might hit like, but we'll go back and man, that was really great, and then we'll go have a snack, and then sometimes we'll hit a like button, we'll share it, and we'll comment and say, man, this was really cool. And people like us that create content, like, that does not go unnoticed for sure. I mean, I make sure I like and love those comments, and I try to reply to them because that stuff makes it's such a motivation to us. And a lot of this conversation is about the content, and I know people watch us for the news. They want to hear about what's coming, why stuff is the way it is.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have like that motivation from the people that watch. It does mean a lot.
Very true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're spot on about it's not why we do it, but it is a motivator with 100%. I mean, if I publish an article or something and someone reaches out to me, or I get a DMs, from people, and I've published some kind of tough topic stuff, right? Or
the one you did a week ago about your family.
Yeah, and there's been some stuff, but people reach out in DMs, and some of the stuff the community has reached out to me. It's just incredible, and I'm sure if it's the same for you. It just really, really kind of touches me that there's it's the good and the good in the gaming community. Excuse me. So.
Yeah, and it really does. It strengthens. It's not just a motivator. Like, it strengthens you. Like, when you write a tough article, or you write something where you poured a lot of research into it, if it's not personal, it's more tech related, and someone reached out and said, hey, this was really informative, it strengthens a bond with you and the people that you're reaching, that you're making a difference, or that people got a great benefit out of something that you worked hard on. It really means a lot.
Yeah, and I could go off on a tangent, but I feel it's worth calling out here, even though we were kind of doing a shout out, is part of the reason and I've mentioned this before, of course, but I have to thank someone like Tim, because when I first got on Twitter and I first started writing kind of bigger articles for my site to get it more well known, I did a couple kind of deep dives on Xbox, again, hardware, infrastructure, where they were headed, etc. And Tim picked up on it, and he's been a huge support. Every time I publish a big article, he's like, man, you got to listen to Ainsley. He's one of the best writers of Xbox out there. I don't write often about it, but he's like, every time he told me at E3 in 2019, he's like, you only write an article like once a year. He's like, but he's like, when you do drop it, he's like, it's the first thing I do. He's like, and he introduced me or got me more well known to a lot of people that might not have spread the way it did if it wasn't for him. So those types of things help.
Yeah, Tim Dog is amazing. Tim and I were talking in holiday of 2018. He's like, Colt, you're going to E3. And I thought, think about it. In 2018, I was at like 50,000 subscribers. And I had made some connections with a few industry people. And I talked to Aaron Greenberg, and he shared a couple of things of mine.
Yeah.
And Tim said, you're going to go to E3 and we're going to get you into FanFest. And I thought, it's so funny because when I think about it, I was like, Tim, I really appreciate it, but I don't think it's possible. And he's like, no, you're going. Like, it's going to happen. And he's so amazing. He just kind of like talked to me. He's like, you need to reach out, and they know who you are, and you're going to go. And it all worked its way out. And Tim, he's such a good supporter. He's so great. And he loves this gaming so much, and he loves the community, and he really gives people a hard time who don't like Xbox. He'll just
I'm aware.
he'll make those guys run around in circles and jog a little bit and work up a sweat, and kind of chew out their energy a little bit, so
oh man, yeah. So anyway, there's, as you said, there's a lot of people to thank. It's a kind of a big community, and really appreciate just the conversation and the camaraderie, and getting to know everyone. I think it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you. I in my opinion, I know we're still live, but I need to talk to you more. I could use some of your insight on some things. I know you've helped me with a couple like thumbnails and stuff in the past. I kind of got away from personal YouTube stuff, because I'm so focused on the site itself. But man, it's always a pleasure talking with you. I know we always have a laugh and good conversation. So thanks for taking the time out and sitting here with me.
Oh yeah, it's been so fun. I really appreciate it. We should talk way more often.
Yeah. So we'll do that. But so thanks again, man. We'll make sure to this won't be the last time we speak, for sure. In this format. We'll revisit this in the future. So for anyone tuning in later, or if you're listening to this on our podcast services, that was Industry Perspectives with myself, of course, Ainsley Bowden, and Mr. Colt Eastwood. Obviously, all of the information for his channel, not that you don't know who he is, but it'll be in the description. You can find it anyway. So thank you for tuning in. Until next time.